Hi everyone, it's Tyler from Laminart Industries. We have another video today, another in our Getting Better Images series, and today it's on eye movement, so we're going to go over a few examples and hopefully these help with your images. So we have on the screen here, we have just a stock image and we have it flipped both ways, so we're going to go over just a few examples of eye movement and how your eye moves when we see an image and how this can really help your images as individuals, but also the feel of your images for when clients are looking at them. And we're going to do a few examples on how it can help when you're designing albums. So I think it'll be a really fun and beneficial video. So we're going to start off with these two examples we have here. One is going to the right and the other is going to the left. So when we look at the one on the left, because it's looking to the right, the gaze is going this way. So that's the eye movement for that one. Get rid of that. And for this one, the movement is going the opposite way. So when we're looking at an image, whichever way usually, unless it's looking directly at the viewer, when a person's at a 3/4 view like this or a side profiler view, the direction that their eyes are looking is really the direction the movement of the image will be going. So when we look at the one on the left here, your eye is kind of going off to the right, which goes left to right. The opposite is the same. For the one on the right, it's going right to left. Now each of these have their own benefits and advantages and disadvantages. For the one on the left, when your view and the eye movement is going to the right, in North America we read left to right, so it's a more natural, more comfortable way of when you see an image, it just feels more calming, I guess. If you're from the East where they read right to left, it sort of throws off the algorithm, but in North America or any person who grew up reading left to right, it has this effect. This is great for if you want an image to really have a nice, easier flow, if you want it to have a more comfortable feel. Definitely go with the left to right eye movement. The one on the right here, because the eye movement is going to the left, it sort of goes against the grain of how we read and how things are viewed, the visual language that we've all grown up with here in North America. So what this does, it's not necessarily a good or bad thing, but what it does is sort of creates a stop. It's sort of like the equivalent of putting a period at the end of a sentence when you have it going this way, because it's counterintuitive to how the visual language that we're all familiar with. It sort of creates that pause, that stop, which can be quite helpful for doing images. So to further that point, let's go to, I've just set up the same image a few times in a row. So as we can see with image 1 here, image 2, image 3, the direction is all going left to right. And as you can see in a repeating pattern, it really enforces that, where you start at the first one and you go 1, 2, 3, and it's going all the way to the right. Now when we get to the last image in this set of 4, it does a full stop and it sends your eye back towards the way it came, which is really good for creating eye movement in a composition. Having the 3 images go left to right and bringing your eye across the page or across the set or series, and then coming to that last one and having that full stop and going back is really nice. It really creates a finality to the piece, but also it brings your eye inevitably back to the beginning, so then people's eye motions just keep rotating and rotating and rotating, which is good for albums. It's good for if you're doing any sort of display in your studio for wall art, if you're being set up in a gallery, maybe you have a feature. All those really help with eye movement, where when you get to that one point you want to bring the eye back, and the easiest way to do that is go with a right to left eye movement. Just to go to the next one here. We kind of set up the same thing. I just did a repeating pattern here. So in the first one, as I was mentioning, in North America, we read left to right and we read up to down. So inevitably, if say this was hanging in a gallery or your studio, say you have a cluster of 4, when you come in, you want the first one to go with your eye movement this way. This one brings it back. Ideally, if I would, I could rotate it slightly so that maybe the head is slightly tilting downward. But definitely this one goes left to right. This one goes back, so it's going to bring your eye down this way. This one is going to bring your eye here, and then this one is like the full stop, which will really keep your eye moving around the piece. So those are a few tips that really help. It really helps the flow and helps the ease of when you're looking at it, especially in these groupings and clusters. If you had a full stop at the beginning, it's going to be really hard for the eye to navigate and have that nice seamless sort of figure 8 where your eye just goes to the beginning, moves around, comes back. So that really helps. And then also too, for albums or galleries or wall art displays, it really helps too, where you really want that eye movement to go around. You don't want the eye going off the page, for example, or if you had it in an album, if it was say just a 1-pager, like say for example here, if we just put a line right down the middle, sort of, say the left side is the left side of a page in an album and this is the right. So if we had, say this first image going the opposite way, whereas this was the first page, it would look really awkward having that. So if we just sort of take this for example, highlight all that, copy and paste it, and we can see what that would look like there. So say if this was an example of, or actually, yeah, there we go. So say if this was an example of how you're laying out a page where you have your, there we go, the page in the middle, the eye would be going right off the edge of the page. So your eye movement wouldn't go to the next page, it wouldn't go to the next panel. It would just take the eye right off the page, which just makes it a little harder to navigate visually when you're looking at it. So we can go back to the first one. Little tips on just knowing where the eye movement in the piece is and how to navigate it to your advantage. So hopefully these few little tips help. We might go into a more in-depth video. I just use the same image a few times just to illustrate it, but we might go into depth with a little more elaborate layouts, some of the popular album layouts, some of the popular wall art layouts. So we might do that, but this is a quick short video to get the ball rolling, and everyone can play around with it, see what works for them. And we're gonna cut the video here, so hope to see everyone in the next one. Thanks.